The Bernabéu lights were still flickering when he strolled onto the pitch, an 18-year-old kid carrying a nation's hopes and the price tag of a small airline. Endrick Felipe Moreira de Sousa, the boy who made Palmeiras fans gasp and Real Madrid accountants blink twice, was supposed to be the next unstoppable storm in white. Yet inside the cathedral of football, whispers had already started to echo, "Where's the thunder?" He had tasted the starting whistle only twice by January 2025, both times in Copa del Rey ties designed more for rotation than revelation. His first touch against modest Deportivo Minera felt sharp, a feint, a flick, a delicate layoff that split a defense like silk tearing. The crowd roared, expecting the net to bulge any second. 90 minutes later, the scoreboard read 5-0 to Madrid, yet Endrick's name never lit up. He trudged down the tunnel with a smile that looked borrowed, the kind you flash when the party's glamorous, but nobody remembers your name. The dazzling exterior was already hiding a darker reality. A Spanish daily hammered the point home with brutal arithmetic. 113 days without a goal, 3 full moons. A teenager who once collected record-breaking strikes like stickers now found himself compared to Vitor Roque, the cautionary tale of Brazilian hype flickering out under European floodlights. Headlines screamed about La Gran Sequía, the Great Drought. Pundits asked if Madrid had paid 47 million euros for promise or pipe dreams. Fans began compiling YouTube montages titled "Where is Endrick?", while rival supporters chanted "Sobrevalorado" whenever his boots touched grass. Real Madrid's trip to Riyadh for the Supercopa semi-final against Mallorca only deepened the wound. Every camera searched the bench for Endrick's restless posture. 90 minutes later, they found him exactly where he started, blanket over his knees, eyes fixed on a match he could influence only in imagination. After the 3-1 victory, Carlo Ancelotti explained with fatherly calm that opening a match already won made no sense. He will get his chances, the mister promised. But as weeks morphed into months, the pledge hung in the cold Castilian air like fog that never lifts. Behind closed doors, Ancelotti spoke glowingly about Endrick's explosiveness in training. He praised the teenager's discipline, his fearless dribbling in rondos with men twice his age. Yet every weekend, the team sheet told a harsher tale. Madrid's season slipped into a familiar paradox, desperate for fresh energy, yet terrified to gamble titles on unproven youth. Reporters prodded Ancelotti with the same question. Why not play the kid? The Italian's answers, tempered, philosophical, couldn't drown out mounting frustration. By February, the numbers painted a portrait colder than any rumor mill. 28 competitive matches, and Endrick had appeared in just 16. His lone start belonged to a game most Madridistas couldn't recall without consulting match archives. 2 goals, both flashes of that left foot lightning, and a single clever assist were smothered by the statistic no striker escapes. 250 minutes total, the length of a mediocre Netflix series. 3 yellow cards hinted that irritation was beginning to gnaw. Inevitably, whispers of a loan swept news feeds. Southampton offered Premier League minutes. Almeria dangled guaranteed starts. Real Valladolid promised a hero's welcome. Agents, scouts, late-night talk show pundits all advised a season away from the Bernabéu glare. But Endrick stunned everyone by saying no. He preferred sweating in Valdebebas at dawn to celebrating elsewhere at dusk. Some called it arrogant. Others labeled it the purest confidence Madrid had seen since Cristiano. Staying, however, carried a cost accountants could never tally. In Madrid, opportunities sprint like Vinicius on a counter. Blink, and they're gone. Mbappé, Viní, and Rodrigo devoured minutes, leaving Endrick to fight for crumbs. Each unused substitution became a mini-trial of psychological endurance. The stadium that once felt like a dreamscape began to resemble a gilded cage. Could a teenager handle that kind of claustrophobia? History offers a double-edged blueprint. Vinicius Jr., once a meme for missed sitters, transformed under Ancelotti into a Ballon d'Or candidate. Rodrigo, initially the quiet understudy, now ghosts into Champions League box scores like an inevitable plot twist. Both survived the bench, the tabloid mockery, the suffocating expectations. Yet for every Viní, there's a Royston Drenth. For every Rodrigo, a Hesse. The line between legend and footnote is razor thin. Friends say he replays his Palmeiras highlights to remember the fire. Coaches say he stays after training, perfecting the outside of the boot curler he once used to tear Brazilian nets. The club nutritionist jokes that Endrick treats match day benching like an extra gym session. Heart rate monitor on, resistance bands out, sweat pouring while 80,000 fans roar 3 floors above. Still, a routine can't silence the crackling tension. One touch could launch him, one miscontrol could brand him a flop. Inside the dressing room, veterans offer equal parts comfort and warning. Toni Kroos tells fables of youngsters who burst too brightly. Luka Modric reminds him that greatness is a slow accumulation. Dani Carvajal, a graduate of Madrid's lone labyrinth, shrugs. Survive long enough and the crest adopts you. Yet when the anthem erupts, no one can share Endrick's lonely seat on the pine. Meanwhile, the media sharpen their narrative. Morning columns applaud his humility. By evening, they slam his social media silence as lack of fire. Rumors swirl of secret clauses, friction with Mbappe's entourage, Brazilian sponsors pushing for screen time. Smoke suffocates even when there's no fire. Endrick's camp issues polite statements about trusting the process, but agents' phones buzz at dinner with fresh European suitors. Yet the Bernabéu never forgets magic. One electrifying strike can flip perception overnight. Endrick understands. That's why he refuses a loan, why he studies Mbappé clips at midnight while other teens scroll TikTok dances. He isn't waiting for luck. He's preparing for the 30-second window that could rewrite his destiny. Doubt creeps like winter drafts. Football's graveyard is crowded with almosts. Wearing white can weigh more than armor. Endrick's test is to trust this crucible will temper, not shatter him. Back in Brazil, Endrick's meteoric ascent was mythic. Scouts first spotted him. So, what's your verdict? Will Endrick rise as Real Madrid's next icon, or become another cautionary tale whispered during transfer window gossip? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like if you crave the next twist, and subscribe so you never miss a single chapter of football's most captivating coming-of-age thriller. One certainty endures. Endrick chose the furnace over the fireplace, the impossible badge over guaranteed applause. Choices like that create legends, or casualties. And that, dear viewer, is where the saga rests tonight. Endrick's boots are laced, his patience stretched, his moment warming up in the tunnel. When it finally bursts onto the turf, remember this chapter of drought, doubt, and stubborn resolve. Because if the kid explodes, the world will insist it happened overnight. You now know it was anything but.